I think so.
This is some good stream beats you got going on. Slowly gets you hyped.
Exactly. Welcome, everyone. We already had 16 people waiting before we went live, so we're building up some momentum. I love it. Hello, everyone who's watching. Let us know where you're from. Let us know where you're tuning in from.
And what you're most excited about.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
This is the event for the analyst.
Exactly.
This is the bit where you get hyped for the stuff that's going to help you do your job.
Yeah.
And it pushes you through the pain of the things you're going through right now.
Exactly. Cool.
With Tableau, not just with life.
Exactly. Good work. It should be an interesting event, I think. The keynote was good because it sort of just extended the boundaries. It sort of stretched our minds a little bit. This is where I kind of go back and look at, are they still paying attention to the stuff that we all want to see when we use Tableau day to day? And I think this is the audience for that. This is the perfect sort of setting for that. So I can't wait.
100%. And it's. I think there was an interesting comment from Matt Francis earlier this morning when you caught up on our stream from the keynote.
Right.
Which is, there's no real right place to put devs on stage because he's spot on. Like the keynote is the corporate feel. This is what it's setting the scene for the rest of the conference.
Yeah.
And then devs on stage is like, this is for you. This is the bit for you, the person who's the user.
Yeah.
So that's why it's so exciting.
I'm trying to pull up the tweet. He had some good points. This is where Twitter's awful. You can't search Twitter at all these days.
You need to know what you're looking for.
Exactly.
Anya's straight in. Am I excited about prep on public?
Exactly.
It's not prep. It's prep prep on public, not Tableau prep public.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm fine with it. It's just a repository. And it helps with collaboration and community things, and that's only a good thing.
Exactly. So this is Matt's tweet, just basically summarizing his thoughts on the conference, which is pretty cool. Thanks for giving us that, Matt.
Because as we said, it is a good part to end the event and end the time on.
Exactly. How many times will we hear Ask Data or Slack? I think a lot. I'll take bets. Let's take some bets from people. No money on the table, of course. We don't gamble here, but I'd love to know how many times. Single digits, double digits. Give us a number.
I'm going single. I reckon that the Slack stuff was mainly for the keynote, and we'll see a little bit. But the bulk of it will be a lot of the other stuff, in my opinion. Ask Data is an interesting one. I think less as well. I'm saying single digits for both.
All right. I think double digits. I can't spell, but I think double digits say. Ask Data, I think we'll get a mention, but I don't think it'll be double digits because I think it's maturing as a feature. So I think we'll get reminded about it, but I never think those count. I never think those are the ones to sort of worry about. So yeah.
Yeah. What's everyone hyped about? Like, is there something that you want to see, that little pain point that you're working on even today? You're like, oh man, if Tableau could solve that, my life would be so much easier.
There's lots of those for me, honestly. I could go on for days, and I do go on for days. For context,
that's why the YouTube channel.
It's funny, the video about hacks in Tableau triggered so many Tableau devs. It was amazing. Not in a bad way, in a healthy way. They sort of reached out. They wanted to sort of connect and talk about some of those pain points. So I love that happened. But the thing is, it's not just me. They do this all the time with customers, and I think it's we've reached a point where Tableau is so big that there is so much legacy to go back and try and connect with. So yeah.
It's also internally connecting folks within Tableau to say, well, I spoke about this person over here and this person over here, and making sure that the conversations you've had with one is also relayed across. I'd encourage everyone on the stream. I'll probably say this again through the stream we've got when we were underway as well. But get involved with the betas. Like, the way that these features come to life is they start on the ideas gallery to get like a long list of features to work on. So do chuck things into the ideas forum. And then also get involved with the betas and share back your feedback about what you want to see within the product and why, and the use cases. Because then what Tableau will do, like for example with LODs, no one was saying I'd like a level of detail calculation.
Exactly.
But it was the thing that they ended up with to solve a bunch of problems, and the same with the data model as well.
Exactly. So I've got it up on screen, and it's actually a slightly maybe quiet part of the Tableau forums potentially, but there are nearly 10,000 ideas, and they do pay attention to these. I just had a discussion last week about, if I had these 10 features, which ones would I prioritize? And I actually went through the list, and there's some that I put at the top. What I wish is that this point system wasn't transferable, so you couldn't just keep voting things up. Like if you vote on something else, you couldn't vote on something else. So a finite number of points. And what that would do is it would reflect the current feeling about certain features, because sometimes Tableau release features and they do improve a situation, and so you might prioritize a feature in another space now that situation is better over the one.
You're assuming a lot of people spend time on this page, right? Like I only go in these when someone says like, hey, is this an idea you'd be interested in? And it's either yes, I like it, or no, I'll dislike it, or I'll leave it. Right?
But isn't then that a good thing? Because people assume that people spend time, and sometimes devs look at this and say, these are all meaningful points. Well, actually, if interest has waned over time, should they really be a focus, if that makes sense, right?
But on the other hand, you say that, but dynamic parameters was top of that list for how many years? And then the reaction they got when they finally announced it 2 years ago.
Right.
That was the mic drop moment. I think that's the biggest reaction I've seen.
Exactly. So yeah, it's interesting. Definitely check out this page. They used to have a viz here, right? I think here it is. If you go to this tab, it loads up and it shows you over the last 90 days the ideas with the most travel. So add tooltip to shapes, shape selection, showing file name. Some of these are always nuanced. I always like to go into these ones at the top with lots of votes. Tableau prep connection to MASS. Create a way to easily control which level subtotals are displayed.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go after we finish this. I'm gonna go and upvote that because
allowed to turn off auto update filters in Tableau server. Okay, that's interesting. If we sort of just go back, let me be bold. Let's go to 90 weeks. Let's see what happens to this viz. Oh, look at that. It's funny. Like, look how many are all the way back here, back in the 20s, and that's just in the last. If we went back, 90 months. Let's see if this viz breaks. Here we go. I love the highlighting is contextual, right? So it's
contextual.
It's like a legend that's sort of fixed. So some of these hide tabs going back to when? That's now in the product, surely, right? You can hide and show tabs. It's probably not to the exact spec that this feature was submitted in. Double click to adjust column width, view and edit filters. I mean, there's so much stuff in here. A lot of it's granular, but it makes someone's workflow better. So go check out these ideas and take part.
As Jonathan says in the chat, like so few Tableau users vote for anything. So it would be so good if people on this stream is like, let's put the word out. Like, let's pass on the ideas for them and say, look, there is a method for you to get the thing that that hurts you into the products, and that's the ideas for them. Yeah. And also, I spend some time liking stuff, commenting. There's something like, hey, I could probably give a bit of context on that as well.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to make friends with devs, which is what we've done, right, Tim?
Yeah, I think it's friends and harass as well, potentially. So, we like to have these conversations frequently. I think it kind of keeps us engaged with the product. I think that's the bit of Tableau I love the most, understanding where they're sort of taking the product. But it also kind of really amazes me how deep each of the devs goes into every feature. I think sometimes you look at a feature when it comes out, you think at a very surface level, they haven't thought of this, haven't thought of that. Like 99.999% of the time, they absolutely have. It's a question of resource and timings and, product market fit and fit the market. All those things control what actually gets put into the product.
So Omar's got a great point here. The support for getting the content migration tool. So I've not used the content migration tool.
Yeah.
So this is a nice niche one. I think I definitely saw some chatter around. They wanted some feedback and possibly might be in this beta as well. I'm not sure.
Yeah. It's definitely something that's interesting. I just had a call a week ago with a company called Wisdom who have a CI/CD tool that works with Tableau. So it's essentially a testing and integration tool for Tableau, and it's really cool. I walked through the demo; it was really interesting. So I'm going to spend some time sort of working with it just to see if it's sort of really meets the expectations, because sometimes the demo and reality are never the same. But I think there are more and more people asking for that sort of world of tools around the Tableau platform.
Exactly.
Multi-cards for measure values. I actually have seen this feature on a dev's desk, as it were, seeing as that's what's today. So
I think there's going to be a stage, by the way. I think there's going to be a stage, because if you call back to, I think if you look back at the keynote,
they're back on
they
stage.
They're all green screen, right?
I think it's a stage. As a video connoisseur, I can tell you that's not a green screen. And unless someone turns up and tells me they've done some VFX on top of it, which I doubt they have done for a technology conference. So yeah.
Support for preferences TPS file and customers. See, all of that sounds like profile layer to me, like something that follows you around. And is your personal preferences.
Yeah. So Omar, Ravi has this very simple idea. I'll explain it for you, because otherwise he'll spend half an hour talking about it.
We've got 10 minutes.
Essentially, you have identity. So think of your Google profile, right? It carries across all Google products, and it also works on other platforms that aren't necessarily Google's. Ravi's idea is essentially to create something similar for Tableau that not only sort of follows you around public, prep, desktop, but also carries things like your preferences, style sheets. And what that allows Tableau to do is to layer on their understanding of you. So for example, if they see you trying to do a table calculation in a weird way, they might say, okay, this person's never used an LOD. Maybe we should throw up a tutorial for an LOD right now, because it looks like the right thing to do in this step. And Tableau can do that through metadata, right? They can actually look into the workbook and gain all these insights. So that's Ravi's idea in a nutshell. I think, did I do that justice?
Very, very much so, and added a bit of sauce on top as well. So
you are a fan of hot sauce, aren't you? So I'll say added some hot sauce to that. Just looking at Jonathan's comment here about product managers is, hold on, this is in two parts. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I 100% agree. Like, I think as users, we often think about the next step, and sometimes that's not the right approach, right?
It's never enough.
God, you got some fans there with the profile layer.
Profile layer, love it. No, it's never enough, and I think even after today, we'll be like, oh, that's great. But wouldn't it be great if it could also do this?
Can I ask you something, Ravi? Can I ask you something? Is your idea in the Tableau ideas page?
It isn't. I feel like it doesn't.
I think you should. I think you've talked about it enough that I feel like it's now my duty to pressure you to have something on the ideas page soon enough, so that I can link to something.
You've got the link to my blog post. The blog post that I wrote a year ago is still there, but
grab that, put it in the ideas page.
Put it in there.
Francois,
it needs a bit more flashing. Yeah.
Good work.
But yeah, no, and Jonathan's spot on. The never enough is totally our job, because we support and sort of showcase like what are the things that we care about,
right.
Because it was interesting listening to Andrew Beers a few years ago when he was just like, we sort of line up these ideas and we take an informal, like as we're doing here, informal bets to say that's the one that's going to get them hyped, or that's going to get them hyped. And it's like, well, actually, neither of them did, but this weird thing, you guys like mobiles?
Yeah. Like in 21.4, everyone's about to go crazy about copy and paste. In fact, they already have. If that doesn't ship in 21.4, I think a crisis will happen, right? But there's so many other things like row level security, virtual connections. Those are groundbreaking, but no, copy and paste.
This is it. This is it. Like Taha said on the stream on Tuesday, she's like, you guys use the horn for like row level security? It's like, yeah. Tim's got a bucket load of sound effects.
I have
ready
a
for
lot of
today,
sound
guys.
effects for
This is
today.
going to be bags of fun.
We could go through them very quickly. Maybe annoy everyone. We'll see. Okay, we're at 21 people in the stream. Let's see how many we lose after the sound effects. So this is a nice little subtle horn, you know, just sound of appreciation. We've got the dramatic bass drop, which is
which then comes back around.
It does come back around. We've got the incredible joy.
This is pure hype. This is pure hype.
I want to use this all the time today, okay? I do not want to be disappointed. And then for that sort of little moment of surprise, we've got this one. Exactly. I have to say, that sounds like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
I think it is Shaggy. So the is for when we're like, oh.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're pausing and sitting there in silence.
Exactly. We did have some intro music. Let me turn the sound effects down because this is a bit loud, but
yeah. And long.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have some fun sound effects for today. It's gonna be good fun.
Yeah, yeah. So we've got some other comments in here. So Omar had a go with his hex codes and I think tried to copy his TPS files.
Right.
And that just copies your colors, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
this is what the TPS file does. But imagine if that TPS file had so many more preferences, like your padding settings, your favorite fonts. And as an enterprise user, can you push that TPS file to everyone?
Here's a crazy
right now
idea.
You can push the.
We all think too much about files. Okay. I read an interesting article on The Verge how students going to uni today don't understand file systems because they've been brought up on smartphones and devices that don't have file systems. They've been brought up on Google Docs that just has stuff. They have Notions, which has content blocks. And it's so funny that we all think of everything as files. But imagine if you just blow away files. Ravi, this is teeing you up again for the profile there, right? Just blow the concept of files and just have a bunch of settings, right? It doesn't matter whether they're a file, whether they're in a workbook, wherever they are, they're just assets, like blocks of information. And that's actually what we want to be able to sort of transfer. And I think when we think about things like the Tableau Exchange, I think of those things as, we talked a bit about this a few weeks ago, flows, right? These are just components as part of a bigger workflow, and they come together to make a solution, right? And I think that is going to be the really powerful moment for Tableau when they can modularize these sort of independent parts. So I think we're starting. There's a little bit of this we have to see, I think.
Okay, cool.
You and I will want people to see this.
This is an advert. This is.
That's phrasing again.
I'm so interested to see where these people are found.
Hold on a second. Let me refresh this. Let me refresh this. That appeared and disappeared. It was just an. It had to crash. We actually saw this earlier on. We thought it was pretty funny, so that's why I wanted to share everyone that. But we missed it. God damn it!
It's all right. It's all right. The countdown's on now, Tim. If you want to chuck on devs on stage, the countdown's now on.
Oh, it is on live. Okay, cool. Let's do this. Let's switch over.
Let's go.
Good work. And
super excited.
Unmute.
Here we go. Lucas Dybel in the chats, ready with the flames. Excellent.
I have not changed the audio settings since yesterday. That's why. That's how this works. Until next year, I'm not touching anything.
I think yesterday went out without hitch. So yeah, super excited to see
Don't say
today.
That, Ravi. Come on.
It's the break a leg, right? It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine.
Let me kill a few things that I don't need open.
Here we go.
You're about to take a viz.
Oh Christ!
Through visual time and space, and we're all gonna have a good time. 'Cause when you biz together, you're more than just a family. You're a data family.
Oh,
Together, we're the data family. All together, that's you and me getting better. We're the data family.
you're gonna have to date this for me, Tim. Is this like 80s, 90s,
I don't know. It's tough to call.
Across the galaxy.
70s? I don't know. Like, this is before my time, is what I'm saying.
Are these clothes on the Tableau store? That's my question.
They might be now.
So good. Jonathan can't handle it.
Nor can Francois.
That's very good. Love that line.
Anna dating it for me, saying this
Anna's
is 70s.
dating it for us.
There you go.
70s. Ravi, we're too young to know that, right?
I might be.
I think I am too. Don't be silly. Come on.
That's so specific from Jonathan. 78 to 84. Disco Benny off. Excellent.
Amazing. Very good. I love that. Love that.
It's a bit like that 70s show kind of vibes.
Yeah. Here we go.
Getting warmed up.
Andrew Beers.
Hello from Seattle. First and foremost, I want to begin this Veterans Day by honoring the extraordinary individuals who make up our armed services. Whether you're still in the uniform or not, we greatly appreciate your willingness to serve. I'm Andrew Beers, and welcome to Devs on Stage. No matter where you're joining us from right now, we are thrilled
There we
to
go.
have you with us today. And if I know this community, you have been hard at work, making profound impacts with data every day. We love to see it and celebrate it. And you have continued to share your successes, your stories, and your ideas with us, all of which help shape the innovations that you'll see today. Well, as Tableau CTO, I want to personally thank you for inspiring us to build products and programs that advance our mission to help people see and understand data. Together, we can
Good
transform
reminder.
the world of analytics for everyone, everywhere. Now, in a moment, you're going to get a chance to geek out with 5 individuals from our dev team. They, along with the rest of our devs, have built some of the coolest innovations in analytics for our data community. And they have done so while adapting to our work from anywhere world. Yes, you are about to see amazing innovations built from home offices and living rooms and kitchens all around the world. I am very grateful for all their hard work, and I'd like to now take a quick moment for you to meet today's demoers.
Here we go.
Hey, my name is Nathan Manheimer, and I'm a product
Hey,
director here at Tableau. I really
Nice.
enjoy being able to build and create things that I
Love
can
the
then
team.
go out and
Bit-
see
bit
people
more behind the
actually
scenes, I
using
love it.
and breaking and being successful with.
Yeah.
That feedback cycle is really fun for me. And I also love my pet cockatiel, Buddy.
Hi, I'm Rachel, and I live and
Rachel.
work in the Boston
Hey.
area. My background is in neuroscience, and I use this experience to help
So
me
good.
tackle big unsolved problems. One silver lining to this past year and a half is how easy it's become to connect with anyone,
Right.
and I can do it all while baking sourdough in my kitchen.
Hello, my name is Issa Beacon and I work on Tableau Prep Conductor.
Wow.
When I'm not building amazing features,
This
I
do miss
trailers,
different types of
what
data
they're
and
talking
labs,
about.
especially fire spinning.
Miss labs.
I love
In-person
working at a
labs.
company where teams are so
Fire
close-knit
spinning.
and cooperative. They really
Wow.
do feel like a hashtag data fam.
Hello, my name is Alex Caldwell-Wenman.
Yep.
Tableau's customers are probably some of the most exciting customers that I've ever worked with. I joined Tableau because I really enjoy solving complicated problems and helping customers who are also digging into complex issues.
Hey, I'm Jamar, and I work on Tableau Public. Since middle school, I've had a passion for shoes.
Ooh.
And funny enough,
Gold.
they've been involved in most of the moves I've made since then.
A strong shoe game.
I built my confidence through shoes.
As we say in the UK, crepes.
The
Yeah.
easiest way to meet new people at work.
Americans say
always spot
sneakers,
us
we say
today.
crepes.
Check the crepes.
Love it.
It's like a heist movie.
Nathan,
Like, these are our
Rachel,
characters.
Lisa, Alexander,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Jamar,
It needs like a
we're all
Netflix-style
excited to see
intro
what
from
you
like
have
Army
for
of
us
Thieves
today.
or something.
These 5 are going to show you more ways you can harness and explore the infinite amount of data coming in from everywhere. I promise there is something for everyone today. Also, please don't forget to thank our devs on Slack or on social using hashtag Data21.
Absolutely.
I know how much they appreciate hearing from you, so please keep those great comments coming in. All right, let's check. Hey, Nathan, are you ready?
Slack.
Nice. Does this count? Does this count as a Slack
Turns out
mention?
he's ready.
No
Good
one said
one,
it,
Nathan.
so it
Over
doesn't.
to you.
I'm excited about this. There's a sort of grey areas of the product. Here we go.
As you can see, Pierce, we're ready to roll. Hey folks, my name's Nathan, and I'm excited to be here today to show you some of the features that we're building in Tableau's core analytics experience to help you push the frontiers of data storytelling even further.
Data
I've actually had an
storytelling.
interesting story
Buzzword.
with Tableau myself. I started as a product consultant on our sales team, then I was a customer, and now I'm back as a product manager in our dev org.
It's amazing.
And throughout that whole time, I've had a chance to see some of the amazing things you've done with Tableau to unlock your data and tell really incredible data stories. But I also know that building visualizations like this isn't always as easy as it should be.
Yes.
Sometimes that means pulling down a few Ken Florage blog posts or
yes.
reverse engineering a dashboard that you downloaded
Here we
from
go.
public.
Ken
With our
twins being
first
called
feature
out there. Love
today,
it.
visualization extensions, we're going to make this experience drag and drop easy. Let's take a look. Here I've got the same great dashboard down in Tableau.
Get the buttons ready,
I love
Tim.
these
Get the
ready.
buttons
I'm
ready.
ready.
but I know that building them is going to require me to structure the data and really write some complex calcs. With visualization extensions, I can make that as easy as just a few drags and drops. All I have to do is select a custom mark type,
Oh, look at that.
and when I do, I can see the marks card realign around that. Now,
Yes.
I just have to place some of these fields in the view to get that great flower type mark. And it's fully interactive and clickable.
Love
just
it.
like it is in Tableau.
So
I can
simple.
even start exploring further by breaking down the viz.
We'll have a ding as well for
But
Ken.
that's not all. With visualization extensions, you're going to be able to get under the hood and actually fine-tune
This is
every
very good.
component of the visualization with the marks
Yes.
to make sure that everything looks and
Love
functions
it.
just the way
So
you want.
good.
Charts
This is
done
going
the
to mean
Tableau way.
more native visualization
love it.
types in Tableau, and you'll be able to share templates through the gallery. So you can
Extensions,
download
exactly.
what others have done
So other people
and
can
share
build
your own
these as
work.
well, not
we
just
can see in a
Tableau.
few sheets here
That's really
that I have
important.
some great visualization types that
Nice.
are already functioning. And I can't wait
Pie
to see
chart.
what you're going to build with visualization extensions. Flexibility and
No more
customization
min
don't just
ones.
end
No
with business,
more-
though.
yeah.
I've seen dashboards out there that are truly
Two-axis min
dynamic,
ones.
data-driven applications. Sometimes building that level of customization takes a few hacks to glue everything together.
Right, right.
But with our next feature, dynamic dashboard layouts, you're going to be able to make that just a few
Everyone
clicks.
becomes Twan.
Here, I've got a dashboard that shows my sales over time, and I also have some details about those sales. I want to see those details, but only when I've focused in on a specific time range. Using dynamic layouts, I can use a parameter that I've placed in the dashboard
No.
to hide those details away. And, for
Yes.
example, select 2 weeks of sales in December.
Yes.
When I'm ready, I can
Love it.
easily bring those
So
details
good.
back and focus in on that time range.
Oh, it's so good.
What we're
So
doing
full
is
control.
using dynamic layouts
Full
to tie a parameter to whether we show or hide this container in the dashboard.
Oh,
So we can see that using the option, I can select that parameter and make sure I'm looking at the dashboard
Very
and the
good.
vizzes exactly the way I want. We could use calculated fields, and because we're able to use parameters, we can also tie those to dashboard actions. So that you have fine-grained control based on the data of exactly what your dashboard looks like.
This is it. This is it. It's going to add so many nice elements to like that
visualizations
feel.
and dashboards are only as good as the data
take down my
them.
container video.
Tableau has always been about helping you see and understand your data. And increasingly, that means using spatial analytics to better understand the world around us. For example, here, I've got a data set of all of the counties in Washington State. And I have a question. I want to understand exactly how fire impacted the state in 2021. In the past, this might have meant creating a single integrated data source with spatial joins to tie together different data sources. With our new feature, multi-data source spatial layers, that process is as easy as connecting to a different data source and dragging in that data.
That's good.
Here,
I think that's in 21.4.
I have a second data source that includes all of the information about fires in 2021.
So it's basically multi. It's a blend, right? Like it's a spatial blend.
It helps you deal with
add in some
instances
details about
where you
those
have
fires,
gaps in your data, right?
And I can highlight things by changing the color.
You can have a second data source that
and
has
immediately
everything.
see where fires impacted the different counties in 2021.
Well, it's not a scaffold. No scaffold
I have a next
required.
question, though. I want to understand what was the largest fire this year? I can answer that right away with Tableau's new spatial area calculation. This calculation is going to let me simply pass in a spatial geometry, specify my units, and I've now easily computed exactly how large each part of the spatial file is. All I have to do is drag that into my visualization.
Boom.
And right away, I can see that the Schneider Springs fire in Yakima County at about 161 square miles was the largest in the state.
And that's automatically working across the new data sources as well.
Dashboard that
this
I'm
is already
to share
live
out
as
with
well.
my colleagues. Seeing and understanding data, though, sometimes means looking past the visualization to actually see the row-level details behind it. I've seen you use view data to help get deeper in data, and even
this is like
pull out
fast-paced
subsets
features
of
already.
data set
Can't keep up.
continue sharing and helping other people answer the same questions that you have. We've also heard your asks for more customization and control of what we can do with the view data experience. And with a newly redesigned view data, I have full control over exactly what I see. When I get down to the row level, I can still see the data,
no more
just
building
like I always
sheets
could.
for it. Oh.
But I can now
Just
control
quickly
exactly
peek
what I
under the
see
hood.
by removing columns,
That
changing
is
their
amazing.
order.
I wonder if this persists.
Even
that's the thing. Does it
sorting
persist in your workbook as your preference?
and adding in additional fields. And of course,
Or does it
I can always
only
pull down the
reinstance?
data as a
Good
CSV
question.
that will respect the design
I
changes
think it'll
I've
be one
made
at a time.
to share around. This is just our first step, though, and going
Or
forward,
make
you're
exporting
going to be
easier.
able to publish a
Correct.
curated view
Then you
data
can choose what you
experience
have,
with your
right?
dashboards so that your
The
end
user can say,
consumers
add this,
see the
remove that,
row-level
hopefully.
data just the way that you intended.
This is very good.
Speaking of those end consumers, we want to make sure that your dashboards are performing just as great as they look. And we've heard your ask for a little bit more help in making sure that things run great. With our last feature today, the Workbook Optimizer, we're going to be able to do just that.
Very good.
When I go to
I'm a big fan of the
Publish
Workbook Optimizer.
I love this.
I now have a new option that I can select to run the optimizer.
So this makes things so
And
much
when I
easier
do,
for like a layman
Tableau
to
will
understand
automatically
what
scan through my
Tableau cares
workbook
about.
Do you know what I
look
want,
for
Ravi?
potential areas to improve
A
performance.
profile layer,
More-
so I can
I even
put
get
this on
suggestions on how to
the
take action so that I
metadata
can
for this
slim
for
down
each user
unnecessary
and
data
coach them
sources
to be better
or improve
developers.
long-running
Right.
calcs.
Yeah.
So I have the
100%.
assurance that my workbook is going to run
And this is
buttery
education in the
smooth from
flow,
design
right? This is
Exactly.
to
orientation
delivery.
Exactly.
education
We've
in
had
the
a
flow,
chance to
which
see
is so
some
important.
great features here today that are going to push the frontiers of what's possible with
this.
Tableau
This is
and
great.
allow you to tell impactful,
1, 2, 3, 4,
detailed
5,
data
6.
stories.
Next year.
I can't wait to see what
22
you're
is
going to
gonna
come
be
up
a
with
hot
next.
year.
And speaking of pushing the frontiers, I'm excited to hand things over to my good friend and colleague, Rachel Kalmar, who's going to tell us a little bit more about what Tableau is doing with augmented analytics.
Nice.
Take
Here
us
we
away,
go.
Rachel.
It's very good.
Hey, thanks, Nathan. I love answering questions with data, and I know that you do too. Your data is constantly changing and updating and refreshing. You can't keep track of all of that, and that's why you use Tableau. We're making it even simpler to know when you have data changes that need your attention. Introducing Data Change Radar.
Nice.
Data Change Radar is constantly monitoring your dashboards behind
is,
the scenes so it can let you know if there's an
code name
outlier or an
uauto, I
anomaly
think.
that needs your attention.
Yeah.
Now check this out. This icon's telling me there's been a meaningful data change. What happened? When I go into my workbook, I see a list of data changes right next to my dashboard and in my workflow.
Right.
That's a good
I see
point
that
from
Sean
Anna.
Miller's sales were higher than predicted.
This.
Data change radar shows me Sean's sales history, makes it really easy to see the unexpected change.
So I love these
This
updates
tells
to
me
explain
what
data.
changed,
These are
but
very
why
good.
And
did
also,
this
especially
change?
these smooth
Coming soon, we're bringing
D3
all of the power of
graphics.
explain data to help you understand data
Sort of what's
changes.
changing, yeah.
And you don't even
Yeah.
need to leave the side pane. You can
Let me
just
move
click
this to
on
the left
explain the
'cause it's
change,
over
and
the
we give
thing.
you a list of possible explanations. Let's take a look at the first.
Nice.
This is showing all of Sean's sales. We can see that there's been one really big sale. Way to go, Sean. Now, I went from
Have to
getting
move
a
us again.
notification about a data change to understanding what changed and why so easily. Tableau did this for me automatically. We're always expanding explain data. This really helps me understand what's going on at
Right.
the mark level.
It's
what
so
if I'm
smooth.
looking at a
And again,
brand
it's more
new viz?
education in the flow. This is
Coming
such a
soon,
common theme.
Explain the Viz is bringing everything you know and love about explain data to the dashboard level.
Nice.
Here's a workbook about electric
Dashboard
cars.
level explanations.
I'm not super familiar with this data.
It's very good.
What are the important things I should be looking at here? Explain the Viz is going to help me navigate this.
Look at that light
Click
bulb
on
at
the
the top.
Discover button. Check out
This
what
is very
happens
good.
on the right side pane. Explain the Viz is giving me suggestions
Oh, and
of
nice.
what
And
I
it's
might want to focus on
contextual
first.
highlighting as well, which is really
Telling
neat
me
to,
that
again, make things
2010
pop.
has some explanations. You see, that is interesting. Range is
so
kind of all over the
good.
place. Now, what's going on here?
Mm.
Explain the Viz tipped me off that something interesting is happening in 2010.
It's very
Now
good.
I'm going to use explain data to help me understand why 2010 is interesting. When I click on this, it brings me right into the explain data experience for this mark. Now, all of this is happening in the right side pane next to my dashboard. It's always available wherever
So
I am in
good.
my workflow. Now, this is saying that range is higher for 2010. I click in,
Hold
I
on,
can get a
let's
list of
finish.
explanations. Now, this is new. I can go into an explanation, and whether I'm a viewer or an author, I can pop this out so I can take a closer look.
Nice.
Now, this is telling me that all of the 2010 electric car models purchased in Washington were Teslas. Well, this makes sense. Teslas
Now,
do
this will be
have an
within
excellent
the Viz,
range.
right?
Yeah.
Like
The
it's a
super
pop
cool
up
thing
within the
here
Viz
is
rather
the
than
make
a
of car
pop
isn't
up.
even on
Over the
this
Viz.
opens a new
Over
tab.
the Viz.
Yeah,
over the
exactly.
Think
Viz.
about
Yeah.
all of the steps you would have to take today to get here. As a viewer, I'd have to go back and forth with an analyst to figure out which fields I want to include. And then I'd have to ask someone else to add these to my dashboard
Right.
for me. Explain Data did this automatically. It's like giving everyone their own personal analyst at the click of a button.
Exactly.
From dashboard to details, Explain Data is giving me the information that I
Now,
need.
the only thing I will say is that grey
That's
bar
not all.
is
We
the
have a
button
bunch
by
of
everyone.
exciting new improvements
So-
to mass data
I know,
too.
You
but
have
you've
to
got to put it
educate them to
somewhere.
see
We have a
that's
brand new share
Gotta put it
button that
somewhere.
lets you share vizzes directly from your dashboard to Slack or a Tableau notification
Hey,
or
Slack.
an email. We also
Ding.
have a brand new feedback button so that you can contact the Lens author directly from your dashboard.
Hey.
You can
Following on from the
rename
Keynote.
fields, edit descriptions, or favorite your lenses. And if you use the data management SKU, you'll be able to manage the lineage of your data
Very
lenses
cool.
directly from data catalog.
I love how connected
We're
this
also
all is,
adding a
right?
new kind of favorites called
If
personal
we put
pinning
aside the data
and
management
making
add-on, just
queries
as
even easier
a
with
separate
Phrase
thing,
Builder.
it's starting to
And
become
finally,
so
we're letting you
cohesive.
embed Ask Data directly from desktop.
Also, see the
All
pins
of
where you
these
can
new
pin your
augmented
most common
features are
questions.
making it
Yeah,
so much
exactly.
easier for anyone to dig deeper and ask and answer
love that.
questions with their data.
Pattern pinning, phrase
And
builder.
now,
So
my
much,
friend
look
and
at
colleague, the dancing Isa Beacon.
Love it. I've got to move us back now.
Yeah.
Cool, thanks Rachel. Electric
The
cars of
fire
the
dancer
future.
himself.
Hi, I'm Isa and I work on Tableau Prep Conductor.
About to
Lately I've been
spit
trying to
some
work on my
fire.
dance skills and I wanted to start by looking into some song data to get a feel for what's good to move to. Let me show you how I've been using Tableau to help get some answers.
Right.
Now, you saw virtual connections earlier this week, and I wanted to take a second to show you a couple of the things that make it my favorite feature this year.
All right.
I've already created a virtual connection with some music data for a DJ friend of mine, They're okay with me bringing their data into Tableau and even sharing it with others as long as access to some of the more confidential tables is securely controlled.
Right.
Let's take a look. We can see the 7 tables I brought in from one database as well as one data policy. Now, tables and virtual connections are visible to everyone.
So remember,
by
this is
default,
part of the
but I know
data
I should
management
limit
add-on.
access to the
Right.
clients and the finances
Yeah.
table. That's where the data policy comes in. If you look at the data policy, you can see it's scoped to just those 2 tables, and
Right.
it limits access to just one username. I can even make sure it's working the way I want by previewing with the policy applied down below. If I view it as my friend, I see 95 rows, and if I view it as anyone else, 0 rows.
I wonder whether this is
Functionality
going
one of
to
the
like
reasons why I'm a huge
if you
fan
use
of
this to
virtual
audit
connections. They
Yeah.
allow you to centrally
usernames
manage
as
access
well.
to groups
Yeah,
and tables.
yeah.
Let me show you one more thing. I know the performances table has recently been renamed to US performances in the database. I don't want to spend my time finding and updating all the content that gets broken. Table has recently been renamed to US performances in the database. I don't want to spend my time finding has recently been renamed to US performances in
hold
the
on.
database. I don't want to spend my time finding and updating
Stream
all the
skipping here.
content that gets broken. Has recently been renamed to US.
I have to restart this sometime
Connection.
because
Governing your data has
we
never
go.
been easier, and once you try out virtual connections, I'm
Boom.
sure they'll be your favorite too. Now that I'm done managing
Every
my
10
friends'
minutes.
data, I'm going to start bringing in my own song data using Tableau Prep. I'll be running a prep flow to combine my song playlist with some song ranking metadata. Now, when I kick off a flow run, I'm eager to get started as soon as it finishes, so I could keep an eye on my email, but I prefer Slack.
hey.
There's a
Hey,
way to
ding.
link this prep flow to my Slack account.
Oh, again.
Here to save the day,
3,
it's prep notifications on Slack.
4.
I can quickly configure any flow to ping Slack when it finishes,
5.
so I can make sure that I know the instant my new data becomes available. I'll show you by kicking off my flow, which
Double
I've already
digits, Ravi.
configured. And just like that. Slack lets me get started using my data right away. Prep notifications on Slack make it simple to stay on top of the latest changes to your data. So this next part makes me think of rhythm. When you've got a nice rhythm going, you don't want to miss a beat.
Right.
It's the same thing with running flows.
Right.
When you have a chain of flows that depend on one another, you want them to start on cue, one after the other.
Nice.
Now, you might try to make this work by running them manually, or maybe
You could
a
do
best
this already.
scheduling approach, but
Using
those can be
APIs?
time-consuming or
No, no.
risky.
You could do this now.
No more.
It's
Now Tableau
21.2.
Prep allows you to set your own
21.3
rhythm with
even.
linked tasks.
Do I use prep? I do not.
If you look at the
There
lineage
you
of
go.
this next flow, you can
There
see
you go.
there's 7 other flows that have to run before my flow can produce
This
results.
saved me actually a couple of weeks
I
ago.
don't feel like
Love
manually
it.
running all those flows, so instead I've added them all to just one linked task.
Mm-hmm.
If we edit the linked task, you can see all those flows are now scheduled
Yeah,
to
you
run
can do
before
this
mine.
already. This is good.
What if one of the steps fails halfway through the process? Will I lose all my results? No worries. Linked tasks can be configured to handle failing steps without missing a
Awesome.
beat.
Mm-hmm.
With linked tasks,
The
you have
runner
more control
macro.
than ever over how your flows are run.
Basically.
No more waiting around for flows to finish. No more scheduled guesstimation. Now, sometimes you're in the mood to dance to rock music. Sometimes it's R&B.
All
Your
right.
musical taste can change pretty often, just like the cleaning criteria in your data. And when you
Issa's
have
got
to make
moves.
small changes to only
He's
a
got
few
really good
values,
flow to his
republishing your
presentation. I love
entire
it.
flow can feel like overkill.
It's
You
not
want
too
your flows to
cheesy.
adapt to your changing needs, and I'm excited to announce
Just
we've done
right.
just that with parameters in Tableau Prep.
There we
In
go.
my case, I've created a parameter for music
Ooh,
genre,
let's see this
which I use
before
to
I
filter
drop
my
the
data
bomb.
and when naming my output results.
Hmm.
That's right. Parameters in Prep can even be applied to input and output steps. After parameters are added to the flow, anyone who
He
runs it
hyped
will be
himself.
prompted to adjust these values in a way
Don't
that
need a
makes
sound
sense to them.
effect.
Now, what if you're not sure what values to use? No worries. You can still use the values that were set when the parameter was first added.
Oh, superb.
With this simple change, my
Right.
flow can roll with whatever sounds good to me. Parameters speed up your workflow and save you from duplicating redundant work by
Interesting.
making your flows more flexible than ever before. All right, looks like my data's ready to go, and now I even have that extra content from my friend. I'm super excited to dive into this data and get my groove on, so throw it over to Alex.
Boom.
I wonder how the parameters, like, does it
Thanks,
output
Issa.
to the same place?
I'm
Does
excited
it
to
create a
share
new
with you
file?
the enhancements
Does
that
it
we're making to
overwrite?
server and online based on your feedback.
Server and online. Here we
Performance
go.
matters, and when things are slow,
juice
I expect to
everyone
hear
gets
about
frustrated.
containers. Let's do a container
So
bingo
we're
right now.
expanding the resource monitoring tools to make
Docker.
it easier for you to quickly diagnose when things are slow. I'm going to show you a favorite tool right here. And this view monitors your dashboard load times.
Right.
Server
It helps you
management
to
add-on,
triage
I think.
system issues and solve problems faster.
Mm-hmm.
It works by taking all of your dashboard load times and uses them to establish a baseline. And then from
this is
there, you
good.
can
This is
see
very
what's
good.
running slowly and what's failed entirely. It also has the
You can
ability
get
to
some of
click
this
and
with
drag
Postgres.
across the view So you can see all the activity
can't
that's
do
going
that.
on within that time frame. And
You
then
can't do
from
that.
there, you can
Exactly.
filter
And it's
down
done.
to see exactly the information that you need to help solve your issues.
Yeah.
Two other really quick things that I
done
want to
properly.
note are that you can establish a new baseline. So if you make a change to your system, you can check the performance before and after your change.
Right.
And we've also added timestamp granularity to zip logs. So if you do have an issue and you need to share your logs,
Very
you don't
good.
have to pull an entire day's worth of logs anymore.
Yeah.
Do you need help granting equitable access to your backgrounder resources or preventing one site from taking over all the backgrounder resources at once and blocking your server? One of our most requested features is resource limits. Resource limits works by allowing you to come in and
Robbie, I
set your
think I can
default
pick up
limits
feedback
for
at
your
the
various
stream.
sites. So I can say, for example, that
From
they're
you.
all going to get 4 extract refreshes or they get 35 backgrounder hours. I have the ability to customize this as well.
is
So
very
let's
good.
say it's the end of the quarter for sales, or they're approaching an important time of the year and we want to give them some additional resources, we can do that.
Right.
So let's go ahead and give them 10 extract refreshes. And then when
This is
they
very
approach
good, right?
the end of their quarter
System
or their time
optimization
period is
for people
ending,
that have
I can
a
come in
large
and I can set the
site
default back to the way it
rate
was.
It's a fine-tuning, fine-tune control.
When it comes to backgrounder resources,
makes admins
it's
happy.
really hard to
Or
balance
IT.
the need to scale
And it's
for
good to
peak
see this
while
because
also
this is
preserving
not
your
for online.
resources.
Online does this
And that's
itself,
why we'll
right?
be
Like,
adding
this is
auto-scaling
for people
for
who want to
backgrounders.
still commit to
And
the
it'll work
on-prem
with your
life or
containerized
running it
deployments.
in a hybrid cloud.
So
or
let's go
whatever.
ahead and take a look. Here you can see I have 3 pods running on Kubernetes. And if we
Hey.
increase the load that's on the system, it'll automatically scale up.
Very cool.
I've got 2 additional pods that are now initializing and running on the server. And let's see what happens when that load goes away.
Yeah.
It'll scale back down automatically as well. How cool is that?
Very
With
cool.
Tableau Online, we do the performance fine-tuning and server management for you to make your lives easier. You told us that you need to embed Tableau
cool.
content within your authenticated sites, and right now it's really complicated and unwieldy. So now, with connected apps, it's easier to integrate Tableau in your application. Let's go ahead and create a new app connect.
This is good. I like this.
Let's name this Tableau Conference 21. And we can grant access to all of our projects or specific ones. And then there's also a domain whitelist as well.
And it just makes authentication generally
And
just
now we'll generate
considerably
our new
easier than
secret.
it
And a secret
than
is
it used to
essentially
be
the secure handshake
across the
between
tickets.
your application and Tableau Online. Now we've created an app connection.
There you go.
From here, your engineers can connect your application to Tableau, so your users won't be able to tell where your application ends and Tableau begins. And in case you're curious, this feature is also available on Tableau Server.
I'm sure the dev
You've
Slack
also
is going
shared with
wild.
us that you have a need to embed content in external public-facing sites as well. So to help with that, we've built Tableau Broadcast. It allows you to share
very
content
cool.
publicly really easily. And it allows your team
Is
to
this the return of the
collaborate
guest?
privately and build your dashboard
Is it
and the
return of the
information that
guest?
you want to share until you're
We
ready
need
to
return
share.
of the Mac on here.
Once you're ready to share it, you go ahead and say, I'm ready to broadcast. And from there, you'll get a
Yes.
confirmation that you are, in fact, ready to make this information public. After that, you'll get embeddable code and a link that you can
Yes.
place into your external-facing
Yes.
This is
website.
the
Very good.
And now our content has been broadcast and it's publicly available. And because Tableau Broadcast is a part of Tableau Online, you can automate your flow via APIs, perform data governance,
Only
and
on
view
online,
usage
though.
statistics. Broadcast will be coming soon to Tableau Online, and we'll have more details to share about pricing at that time.
Only on
And
Tableau
now
Online.
over to Jamar, who's going to show you more
Here
about how
it
you can display
goes.
data
To the
web.
publicly.
To the web, to the web, to the web, to the web.
If you had a public-facing server, it'd be great to
Thanks,
have
Alex.
that on server as
Hey
well,
all,
right?
I'm Jamar, and I'm a product manager for Tableau Public, the internet's largest repository of
I love that
interactive data
public
visualization.
has its own moment.
Our
here.
community
This
is 5 million
huge,
users
right?
strong, and we just celebrated our 2 millionth published Fizz. That's a huge accomplishment. The public
That is
team is on a
huge.
mission to become the destination for public data storytelling. We want to ensure that Public is a site where the community is engaged, is empowered to work with,
I've got the
and
bass drop ready.
ultimately understand data more effectively. Today, I'm here to share with you some of the things we've been working on to get us there. We start off where I do the majority of my cross-company collaboration, Slack. Now, look,
Hey.
I wish I could spend the day on Twitter or Reddit with the data fam, but the reality
We're on
is
9.
at
Double
work,
digits.
I
Here
spend
it comes.
a ton of time on Slack. What's been great is that now with some of the new public Slack integrations,
I love it.
I can tap into what's going on
Double
public
digits.
without jumping out of my workflow.
Double digits.
I can search directly from Slack.
Double
So let's see what
digits.
public has about Drake. Nice. And I can even set up notifications for things like Visit the Day or
Oh, nice.
just
This is
use
so
the
cool.
Tableau app like this.
That's super good. That's super good.
Easy.
Search public in
Here's today's.
Slack. What?
And this app makes it really easy for me to click through and dive deeper into the viz in public. With Viz of the Day, I'm always learning something new from the featured viz. And it's been amazing to see how talented and artistic the community is. And there's just so much to see on public, right?
Right.
But the problem was, because the community didn't have a way to find and organize it all, you relied on other platforms to connect the dots back to public. Well, we wanted to change that.
Good.
So let's start with what we did with search. Let's check out LeBron. We invested in search because we wanted to make sure you could reliably find what you've been looking for every time. And while we were at it, we wanted to make sure it looked better too. I just love how clean these new Viz cards are. Oh, I
Love
like
Viz
this one right here.
This was done a
We've
while back.
also updated the
live.
aesthetic
Yeah,
of Viz Home to be a more comfortable
It's a
place
good
to deep
reminder
dive on a
program.
Viz. We wanted to continue living up to our belief that the best place on the internet to view a Viz is the Tableau public site.
Right.
It's so clean.
100%.
That's a
But we
strong
all
name as
knew
well.
what would happen when we wanted to pull back the curtain on some of the coolest Vizes.
Right.
No more needing to download and open in desktop. We've now brought
Make a copy.
full web authoring and editing to public.
Yeah.
Which we
You
used
can now
yesterday on the
easily
stream,
start from
right?
scratch
We did
or
use
make
it
a copy
yesterday.
of your favorite viz and iterate, all on the web. This has been a huge help for Makeover Mondays. And soon,
Good.
we'll be supporting more connectors like Box, Dropbox, and OneDrive, which helps us take another step closer to reaching all of your data, wherever it lives from public. We also refreshed the design for Profile.
Yeah, this is good.
We know this is where you show off your portfolio. So we
clean.
wanted to make
It's
sure it
so
reflects
clean.
your best
So this
work
is a playback of
cleanly,
what we've seen already,
and it's
I think.
truly representative of the
But
best
remember,
you.
the people watching
And
this
now,
might not have
I'm
been
happy
keeping
to
up with
introduce
Exactly,
the
exactly.
newest
So this
area
is
of
great.
public, Discover.
This is new.
Discover is the place where the community can find something new or inspiring,
Very good.
a cool and up-and-coming creator, and easily keep up to date with what your network is working on, all in one place. Discover
It's
brings
making it a
together the best of
destination, not
public,
just somewhere to
as
put
well
stuff.
as visits we
Correct.
know
Somewhere
you'll
to go
love,
to, right?
tailored specifically to what you're interested in. The first channel is personalized just for you to explore. The For You channel will grow to be the best place to view personalized recommendations on
An
public.
algo.
Some of the
An
content you'll
algo.
see in this channel will be from creators you follow, and some of it will be from others in the community that you don't. But
Amazing.
we think what you'll see will resonate based on you and your network's activity and your areas of interest.
Yeah.
Below there,
I think
the
22
channels
is the
you'll
year
see
to invest
are
in the
curated
on-public profile,
topical
right?
channels
If you
that
haven't
we're
done so already.
constantly updating. We want to make sure you're seeing interesting visits every time you visit Discover. Each visit is a completely new experience.
It's like
Even
a-
more exciting, soon
an
you'll be able
Instagram
to
for
create your
visits,
own
right?
channels on public, so you can organize your inspiration and interests on the fly. You want to create a music channel? It's easy. Have a set of examples you want to share with clients? Just create a channel.
Right.
It's public personalized.
That's a very
for
Slack
all of us.
way of thinking,
The public
right?
team has made
I didn't
strides
say
in
it, but yeah.
every area of
Here we
public.
go.
And we're really excited to share what we have planned next with the world.
These are solid.
Custom
From
channels
where
is
you'll
really
find
fun.
visits that
These are
inspire you,
solid.
to your experience actually creating your
It's
own.
finally a way of
and
not
even
having to
where you
create
show
an
off your
account
best
just
work.
to put visits.
We're
You just
building
create
towards a
channel.
bright future
And then
that is
authors
the destination
can have
for
their
public
own
data storytelling.
content in those channels.
All of this and more coming soon to Tableau Public.
So good.
Back to you, Andrew.
Yes. Bwomp, bwomp,
That
bwomp.
was very good. I love that. I love that.
Dev team, you did it again. Thank you for all your hard work on
That's
these
amazing.
amazing new features. I can't wait to hear what our data community thinks. If you'd like to chat with our dev team some more, head over to Twitter later today, where they're available to answer questions that you might have. Until then, we've got some great sessions lined up, and don't miss 7-time Grammy Award winner, Beck. Have
There we
a
go.
great rest of your day and enjoy TC21.
Very good.
Super duper.
Right.
Let's turn down the stream and have a quick chat about what we've just seen.
Very good. I was 85% of it was stuff that's already out there, but I think the nuggets.
I didn't
were
think it
important.
was. That's high. 85% is high.
That's what Francois said.
No, he says 85% of stuff will be not paid for.
Oh,
As in,
okay.
you don't have to get an
Did I
add-on.
misread
read that
the stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. I
No,
must
no.
have misread the
This
post.
is like most of this was new stuff.
I don't think it was. Half of it was new. I think. A
But
lot
this
of
is
it was...
always the way with devs on the stage.
Yeah,
Like, they
yeah.
recap
This
a
is
bit
great. Yeah,
of
fair.
what's coming on with the next 2 quarters that you may have seen in the betas. I mean, you do videos on this, so I feel like in your head, this is like, oh, this is old.
I live in the new stuff, right? So
Exactly.
yeah, 85 is on the base product and not paid for. So I think that's important. That's a really important thing because you have this in game development, right? Where people complain about what's in the expansion and what's a DLC, right? Like people sort of have this friction, and I think you always have it. So yeah. So highlight features. Let's talk.
Obviously, we got to start with the complex viz types, right? Like that. That's going to be a massive.
That
like,
was the
this
correct
is a
thing to
pivotal
headline with.
movement. Like, this is a big thing that you can unpack because there's so much you can do with that moving forward.
So I really hope that 2 things happen. The documentation for how to create those is good. I also don't want it to be hard for someone to do that. Like, I don't want it to be only people who know how to develop code to be the only ones to come up with these extensions, because sometimes artistic flair and developer sort of skill set don't come hand in hand. So I'd really love this template or whatever you build to be as easy to use as doing it in Figma, coming up with, like, I don't know, an SVG or something, and then using that in the extension gallery to create a new chart type, right? Yeah. And even, publish a viz up to public, and then in public it tells you what extension you've used to create that chart type, and then you can go grab it and add it to your viz.
Right, exactly. But I think alongside it was that one. Obviously, the enhancements explained data is super useful. I think the education around that is going to be great.
Yeah.
Workbook orientation. The not orientation. The
augmentation. Yeah. Workbook
optimizer. The optimizer is a great addition, and that's just ready to go. Right, like once that launches, that's done. Like there's nothing to develop further apart from, again, like you said, getting a bit more understanding of the metadata.
Yeah. Being able to run that one time on everything in a specific site or project would be really useful as well, just so you can get some sort of team-based feedback. Okay, this team that builds this viz has a couple of workbooks that could cause issues, right?
Exactly. And I think moving forward as well, so much of this you can pull back to the exchange as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like the viz extensions, the data sources. If you think about prep on public, could you do something where it becomes like the exchange will then become that homepage for data sets as well.
Data sets, data types.
And suddenly, like between Tableau Public and the exchange, you've got this amazing, rich resource of just learning.
Yeah.
Right. And for me, Tableau Public is purely about that learning and education piece. Like the portfolio stuff is great, but what Public is to me is the best place to go and learn, be inspired, to discover, to collaborate. And these 2 things really excite me because of that.
Yeah, exactly. I think Alex is talking about no improvements to formatting, padding, fonts, filters. Alex, like I said in the previous stream, I think those won't come until web authoring is sort of fully capable of doing everything in desktop, because I think to have to build that capability twice is probably one of the good reasons why that's not sort of getting... If you look at even dashboarding was getting improvements consistently, and then it suddenly stopped. And again, to me, that feels like it stopped for a reason. There's another focus area. So I hope that's the reason why.
There's a great chat going on in the chat.
In the chat. You can see it on screen as well.
About web authoring, right? And I think web authoring is something that I use and abuse these days.
Right.
Like the amount of times I'll fire up a web authoring session, quickly check something, then close it.
Yeah.
Like the ability to just do a throwaway viz on our internal server is so useful.
Exactly.
And I think I'd echo the iPad web authoring element.
Right.
I think it would be useful. I can see. I think you used to use your the web authoring on
Well,
your tablet.
Tableau had a technology called Visible. I think it's still on the App Store. If you have an
I
old
remember.
copy of it, if you go into your purchases and download it. So Tableau Visible was this approach to doing vizzes on touch devices, and I really hoped to have seen that innovation in web editing on something like mobile devices. And so yeah, if that could come back in some way or form, that would be great.
Would you think that would exist in like a throwaway viz sort of way? Like I'm sitting there, I've got a question come in.
Yeah.
I open up and I want to just be able to do the three
Exactly.
things.
It's
I
not
do
to
the
build a
most.
dashboard. It's just like I just want to dissect this data a little bit with touch, right? So yeah.
And again, it's coming back to what I think we've both said Tableau is the best at, which is why it's like the cut above the tools that we use and we love, is because it's this great data exploration tool and it allows you to think quickly,
Yeah.
get an answer and move
Yeah.
to the other.
Yeah.
And the formatting and the beautification comes up secondary to that. Just, well, I need the answer and then I can move on to help ask and answer better questions.
Yeah. The other thing is curation. I think we've got a post here essentially talking about people are going to make sort of really complex chart types. And I actually would like Tableau to play a pretty educative role in curating these charts. So let's not have 50 flower charts extensions in the gallery. Let's just have maybe a few, but really sort of critique them to make sure they're doing different things. I think, we talked a bit about Apple and the App Store, right? Let's have genuine value, because otherwise it ends up looking like the Power BI extension store where there's just like 100 Gantt chart extensions and you don't know which one to pick, which one's the most updated one, and all of that stuff. So yeah.
And again, if Tableau's cute about this, you've almost got this great point to educate people on where they should and shouldn't use certain viz types. Like, because in order to get them, you have to go to the Exchange or the extensions gallery. Therefore, before you download them, you have to go through this like tutorial, be like, well, this is what this chart type is.
Exactly.
Here's how to use it.
Exactly.
Here's where it fits within, that graphic everyone seems to have on their office wall.
Yeah.
The distribution, time series, that thing. It's like, this is where it sits on that. And like, you've got this ability to educate people as they're building.
Yeah.
And it's not a barrier.
Yeah.
But it is. And it's not a barrier because it's education.
And we kind of have that. Kind of have that with the Marks pane. Marks pane and the columns and rows kind of get you into that really structured way of thinking, right? And are people going to connect those vizzes to the right parts of those things in a healthy way, right? A flower chart needs color, shape, size, but doesn't need all the others, right? And so just making sure those things are restricted is important.
Because when you're designing those extensions, you're going to have to understand what you want your user to put where, and educate them on that.
Exactly.
And then also tell them, when you open up this right-hand pane, this is what you tweak. Like, this can get very complicated very quickly.
Yeah, very, very quickly.
But that's why it's exciting. Just like drop this and just be like, ooh. And as Jonathan's saying here, Sherlock the extensions and the ones that are most popular and most used and easiest, bring them into the product as native.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the biggest one is KPI is a mark type.
Yeah, exactly. Oh gosh, how many times do we up and down indicators, bands right next to them with a piece of text underneath? Just make that an extension.
make that a mark type, right? Where you bring in your time series.
You bring in your text. Yeah.
You bring in your text and you're saying compare this period to this period, and you select what you want to compare, and boom, like it's
make the up and down a Boolean. That's it, right? It can't be a Boolean because obviously you have no change, but you get the idea.
Exactly.
So good. So what else? There's the spatial stuff. The spatial stuff is always interesting because I always feel like unless you work with spatial data like day in, day out, you can't really truly appreciate how big some of these things are. And I feel like spatial has been the part of Tableau that has just been cooking on diesel for a long time. And now I'd be really interested to talk to someone who works on mapping daily and just ask them, how much of your workflow have you brought into Tableau versus what you used to have to do in other tools like ArcGIS and so on. So and
it's finding that inflection point. Like there is a breaking point with the user where they get frustrated with Excel because it's not doing what they want, so they then go into something like Power BI or Tableau Prep Builder, and then eventually the Tableau, the Alteryx, the further side of things. And there is that breaking point, but understanding that breaking point for mapping is like, you need to understand what they do. And this is why great people like Sarah Battersby are able to say, well, no, this is what geographers are looking at and bringing that to life.
Yeah.
But for me and you, the generic user, it's mainly it's killing the pain points. This
Exactly.
is what these features do.
Yeah. Just going back to the extensions, actually a really interesting question. Like, how does Tableau A, decide how to count old ones, and B, the other question is, how do you decide the pricing methods? Right? I'm assuming these things aren't all going to be free. If they're free, great. I'd love that to be the philosophy for all extensions and chart types, but I doubt that's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And we already have extensions today that are charged. So I also would like Tableau to set, like a bit like the App Store, some recommended prices. So people aren't getting fleeced for very standard chart types. Otherwise, there's this whole sort of flip of the Tableau economy starts to become a little bit salty. It becomes the game sort of pricing of the Tableau
It's
economy.
free within app purchases.
Not even that. It's just not even the in-app purchases. It's the sort of I need this chart type to do this. So you go in and you spend $2 straight away because you just want this chart type. You drop it in and you're like, it doesn't look as good with my data. It's you want to stop that sort of thing. So being able to try it even would be good.
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly.
Cool.
What else do we do? Go on.
There's a comment here about mapping. So I've worked with ArcGIS folks and presented a small mapping conference. They've always been highly resistant to Tableau, but in recent years they have at least started paying attention. Great. And that's sort of the movement you want, right?
Exactly. And I think it's the simple stuff that Tableau makes easy. I remember speaking 4 or 5 years ago to someone from the football analytics community, and he was like, I use Tableau just to like explore and throw things together, and then I leave it and I go into R and build my ggplot or my app.
Right. But it's always been that. It's always been an exploration tool, right? And that's a funny thing. I think people say that as if that's not allowed. Absolutely, it's allowed. Do it, 100%. So let me kill this.
Oh, Craig's got a subscription model.
Subscribe to the exchange for unlimited use. I think this is what enterprises will want. A single price to access everything, especially for on-prem, and then you get a bit of everything. But yeah, subscribe to the exchange for unlimited use and give authors a cut if their extension is used. Yeah, 100%. That also solves the curation problem because only the good extensions will sort of stay competitive, right? But yeah, it's a really interesting one. It's so exciting.
Like the exchange was a thing that I was just like, man,
it blew my mind.
There's so much you can do here.
It blew my mind.
It's creating this entire marketplace economy, learning center, place for you to start and be like, you know what? We're okay with you guys taking control of our product and showing us where you want it to go.
Yeah,
right. It's
exactly.
Like it doesn't have to be devs on the stage where we're telling you what's coming next, but it's also moving forward into what are we gonna what do you want from the
But it's also taken Tableau to build up the developer community. You couldn't have done this 3 years ago, right? Because first you had to build up the developer community with some sort of essentially smaller projects, extensions first, then connectors, and now you've got this. And I think maybe that's been the play all along, right? Let's start small, train up the people who are going to build this stuff, and then yeah,
exactly that. Server stuff. Let's talk about the server stuff. So there's a bit of row-level security. Go on.
There's virtualized connections, row-level security, I can't remember the exact name of the feature, but
Kubernetes.
when the lady, Kubernetes, but specifically what she was doing was switching on and switching off pods within a container, right? And then the other capability, broadcast.
Auto-scaling, I think.
Yeah. So what I want to do is split online and server. Let's just talk about the server-focused features, right? I think a lot of the management capabilities are stuff that people really, really sort of want, especially people who handle server at scale. And at scale, I'm talking thousands of users going on daily using the product. And I think those are things that people have had to sort of control with the sort of various very crude methods potentially in the past. And so now having this capability to give oversight, which is what people really want, is a really, really good step.
Exactly. And I think I think the other thing to mention to anyone who's watching who doesn't know this, but Server Online is slightly changing their cadences.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if there's been a public announcement on this.
I think there has.
Yeah, so it's going for on-premise server. It's going to go to twice a year.
Yeah, every 6 months.
Exactly, which is really how often. Like I'm an on-premise customer, and that's how often I'll upgrade because unless there's a desperate feature we need, I don't really want to think about downtime.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like, oh man, when's there not a football game on where I can sort of sneak on for 3 hours and think if this breaks, I can fix it, or like there's a way around it.
Right.
Whereas online will be get the new feature. Now, the reason I like this is that gives a bit of more acid tests and also stability, because the biggest thing is most on-prem customers are the scared ones,
Yeah.
I guess, right? Like they want the most stable version. They'll wait for the 0.1, 0.2, even 0.3 release before they upgrade.
But I think you're assuming that the skill sets that Tableau have to develop online are the exact same skill sets they use to develop on-prem versions of server. And I think there's an interesting, if you watch the session on the Tableau Online architecture, you start to understand that they actually, at the back end at least, very, very different products. Same core product, but they run in completely different ways because of the different platforms they're on. So I think I'd be interested to see how that transition happens. I think we just have to wait a year. I was initially skeptical because my view is that, look, hopefully you get patches every month still, right? So you'll have 6 patches of a version before the next update. So what I'm worried is it will make companies even more resistant to change, because who wants to go to the 0.1, 2, or 3 of the new version when you're on the 0.6 of the current version? So you just end up with this sort of even slower cadence where you'll miss an upgrade because it doesn't quite fall right on the sweet spot for you as an organization.
I still doubt that, because I just don't think most organizations pay attention to new releases.
Right.
Like if you think
They
about
do it
products
when they
you
get
don't
to it,
use
right?
every day.
Right.
You think
right.
about a product you don't use every day, and you're getting the email being like, "We've got a new version." It's like, great. I just ignore me. Like,
Yeah.
I use a database explorer tool called dbeaver.
Yeah.
And every time there's an upgrade, I'm like, oh, I can't be bothered to upgrade. Like, I'll do it in like 3 versions time when it's come
Right.
up a couple of times.
Right.
But I'll just ignore it, because the reason I opened the application is to
do
just
some work.
use it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But do you not think that that's actually, maybe Tableau should make that bit easier? Tableau should make it easier for you to do upgrades install. I know that has gotten easier over times, right? But
it's got so fast. Like,
yeah.
let's not
Yeah.
make 2 bones about it.
Yeah.
It's so much faster.
It's a lot
the
faster.
compression is short.
Yeah. But so what should you improve? The upgrade process so it doesn't feel like that burden you just talked about, or slow it down to every 6 months? This is sort of the argument I can't decide which side of the wall I sort of fall on. At the end of the day, someone's not going to get a feature they need that could potentially change their workflow, and it also perpetuates the idea that Tableau Online is the best version of Tableau, right?
Yeah. No, and I think Tableau Online is like that right now. It is, because you've just seen today, so many of the features are going to be online first.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
Because it's still it makes sense.
Yeah.
I think for the upgrade process, I've seen little hints sprinkling here and there where you're going to be able to upgrade different processes, right? And the low-key processes will upgrade themselves until you have to do the application server.
Yeah.
And then you have to take it down to turn it back on again, because the application server, the data server, the background that have to be done on their own.
Yeah. I'd love to see the investment that goes into online doing hot upgrades come to prem, because online doesn't go down for upgrades. It just happens, right? So it's possible. Obviously, maybe the infrastructure allows for it on AWS, but yeah, exactly. Yeah. Jesse's saying here, there are lots of moving parts in organizations as well. You can't just look at Tableau in isolation. There are lots of things that connect to it, things like drivers, updates to security software as well that have to be considered, and you have to practice these things as well. So you kind of have to do the upgrade twice. You can't just do it and assume everything's going to be okay. The amount of people who do that though, always interesting. So yeah.
Earlier on in the comments, I think Omar made the point of JSON databases.
Right.
I think
so non-structured data sources, yeah.
I think this is growing as well. Like passing JSONs into field. Like the amount of times I'm just like, I don't know how to flatten this JSON. Like I need to flatten it.
There is a bit of work going into this. I can't say too much, but the thing about this is that shouldn't you connect to a database that handles it natively, right? Or are you talking about because Tableau can already connect to JSON file types. What we're really talking about here is what we're really talking about here, I think, is data directly from APIs. I think is what's really required here, because databases that can handle non-structured data can handle it. So Snowflake is a good example, just does it, right? So Omar, I'd be interested to know specifically sort of the detail on what you're saying there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly that. What else will you see? What else? I mean, the public
Online
stuff
broadcast. Yeah.
broadcast, right? So
it's not the
I
guest
was hyped
account
about
because
it.
it's up for online. That's why it's not the guest account.
So the broadcast for me was like, oh yes, finally, we've got this dashboard that I'd love to put embed into our SharePoint, but because we're per user licensing, we can't, right? Because that means everyone needs to have a license in order to see it, right? So yeah, I was like, oh, finally, I can broadcast finally this viz and like a few others that we put on big screens around the training complex.
Yeah, yeah.
For players to walk past and see their performance, and for sports scientists to look at who's cooked and undercooked or
Yeah.
overcooked. So I'm just like, this is great. And then it's like for online, it's like, oh.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? But again, I do think more companies just don't want the hassle of on-prem, right? If you think of medium-sized businesses, you go to. I work for a charity at the moment, and it's an organization of 50 people, and their expertise is being a charity. It's not managing a system, so everything they use. They pretty much outsource the IT support for. So for them, online is the perfect answer, and they can sort of go to hand with that. All the sort of nuances of managing it, they're not at the scale yet where they need that. Would be interesting to get sort of yearly updates on how many people are switching, right? And I think Tableau is slowly trying to answer those questions so that more people do come to online. We're starting to see it a bit more, I think, generally in the market. I think there'll always be organizations like banks, highly secure environments, highly sort of specialized organizations that will always stay on-prem. But I'd be interested to see the people who sit in that sort of what's the word? Normal distribution. What's the cutoff where actually all these people could be online if we just had the right features?
Yeah, exactly. Steve makes a good point here. Like, does it make it fully public, or do you have a level of security built in? I think my assumption was, it's just going to be the viz exposed.
Yeah.
So if it's a packaged work, because again, it's just a packaged workbook. If it's got an embedded extract with the password embedded, it will be the same as if you were a user that was viewing it as a viewer, if that makes sense, who has access. That's the way I'm imagining the permission structure to work.
I'd love to see an approval process for that as well. I know it looked really easy, like just switch it on, boom. But I'd love that to have like 2 people in the process, so that someone switches it on, someone else has to go in and do that, because you don't want to accidentally sort of make a data set that shouldn't be public, right? So having that sort of fail-safe makes it a really nice sort of bulletproof feature as well. Interesting. Public. We had tons of stuff in public. A lot of this is live, so if you haven't done so already, go to public and check it out. We did a bit of this yesterday. I won't do it again today. We found out that I hadn't logged that into Public in a while. It's funny.
Because Tim struggled to find make a copy. I think we talked about this just straight afterwards, just how excited we were to see the improvements to Public and how that's going to sit really nicely with Exchange.
Exactly.
Now, the ideal place for Public to land is this Instagram-esque feel social feed, right?
Where you kind of have it already with these little squares, don't you? Right.
And you're getting there with the algorithm, right? Like if you think about that, the discover area, and it's got that for you to explore that's already there.
Yeah.
Imagine if Tableau Public had a mobile app for you to explore this while you're casually scrolling. It pushes people to use mobile. It does all these great things.
The wrong thing there. It wants me to subscribe to Visit the Day. I don't want to do that. I'll just go check it out and star it.
So, yeah, you can dig into these things, and the algorithm will help support all of these elements as well. Now, there was another comment way back, just looking at the Lisa's iron vids,
right?
About imagine if lines were slightly curvier. Like, how you in this viz is a good example.
This is like in Ultrix, where you have auto perpendicular Bezier or straight lines.
Exactly. So, for example, on the top left line chart, or even the top left one, you've got this really hard corner. So many times I've just thought, like, just visually, can I smooth it? Like, you might lose the precision.
Yeah, but I think Tableau's always been about representing the the truth, if that makes sense. Because if you start curving that, what are you saying about the data, right? Like, it's such a sort of a weird discussion to have. I'm not well skilled enough to have it either, but you get my point, right? Like, if you start to curve it, does it communicate that this line is doesn't have discrete items here on the bottom, but is in fact a continuous axis, right? Like, different things can happen, and you do kind of have that here where it is a continuous axis, so it does make sense for this to do that. So I would agree with you if you had a continuous axis, but when you have discrete,
yeah,
that's a little bit fishy, right?
Yeah.
It's good fun though. It's good fun. I love the changes to public. I love that this is becoming a destination. I love that they are putting lots of effort into even just simple things of being able to, if I go to my profile here, I can just create a viz. Like, I don't need to be able to have Tableau installed. Upload my data set. I'm looking forward to the connectors that pop up here once the exchange starts to go live.
Exchange live.
Exactly. Yeah. When the exchange goes live, this page here should become filled with Strava, Instagram, Twitter, the stuff that we've all want to connect to just to visualize quantified self data already here, right? That's
your root, Tim.
That's the single biggest win, I think, for public. Let people look at their own data. And then from there, people will start to understand the stories they want to tell and build out other things. But also see Tableau host some data sets. I'd love to see, like Snowflake do, Tableau host. We had data from the COVID-19 data hub. Put that data in here so other people can come in here and build their own public visits based on the same data, tell different stories, and highlight different sort of aspects of the ecosystem as well.
I think so. So my biggest desire, the next big frontier for creating stuff in Tableau is Google Sheets-esque. Enter your own data into public and build in the browser. Like,
but then you're talking about a database. So that's a database product. You have to put the data somewhere, right?
Sure. But the ability to create an extract on the web already exists, right? The ability to copy and paste data in Tableau already exists. So therefore, if I'm on Wikipedia, I'm like, hey, this is some interesting data. Let me copy it and paste it into Tableau Public, build a viz, and then throw it away. Boom.
What you mean is an extension that creates a hyper based on the web page you're looking at, rather than the ability to input data. Because what you're really talking about, because when you enter data, there's sort of this whole semantic thing where it has to go somewhere. Yeah. Once it goes somewhere, that is now a database. There's sort of that small step. Whereas if you create an extract from or hyperfile from a web page, the web page remains a data set, and now the data is just sort of made portable for Tableau's own sake.
Yeah.
But yeah, good stuff. So that was pretty much the whole thing, right? We had desktop features, we had server features, and then
explain data, enhance data,
explain data, augmented
in
analytics.
The flow,
yeah,
already there.
Yeah. I think it was really good. I enjoyed it. I have to say, I think it's different to being in person, right? And I think there's a slight switch this year where I think in the past we've always seen more features, and this time round we've seen a lot more of what we'd seen before. But I think that's also partly because there's a lot cooking for next year. We sort of saw things in the keynote that we didn't see here on Devs on Stage, right? So that's also an interesting sort of balance. They had to split sort of what they were showing where. We didn't see flows here. All of that stuff would have been just as useful here. So I was surprised we didn't see some of those gaps getting filled.
Yeah, because cool. I guess on occasion they've sort of dug into some features in Devs on Stage
exactly. I was hoping to see more of that. Yeah,
I think it depends. Like, you've seen it in some years where you get it, others you don't.
Yeah.
So I'm not too fussed on that side of things.
Yeah. I like this comment about making public lead the charge on Viz collaboration. This goes back to the idea of not thinking about it as files, but as sort of just objects, and let people edit different parts of the same thing.
Because all Tableau desktop is an XML creator. I think who was it? Probably Steve Wexler said this. Right? What it does is it writes XML. Therefore, what we really want it to do is be able to have two people write XML at the same time.
Yeah, there is some stuff that is not in the XML, and I've always wondered, where is that? It must be in the app binary. That's the only thing I can think of. In the file binary, that's where they're putting this stuff, because I've looked for certain things in XML and I have not been able to find it. It's there in the dashboard. You can even do a diff between the two XML documents. You can see the section of the code that changed, but it's just not available to you.
I like the idea. I think that the great thing about public is it's a great place to acid test.
Yeah.
Right. Like you get so much focused seeing what people are doing with features.
Yeah.
So for example, I guarantee that it wasn't until set actions with Mark Reed and Lindsay Poulter writing their blog posts about set actions that you saw set usage take a massive spike, and you probably see that on Tableau Public.
Right.
Like the amount of sets pre-set actions and post-set actions probably went from like 3 to 300.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
that level.
I'd
of
love
scale.
to plot that on a chart. Lindsay and Mark show the world how to do it properly. Boom. It explodes. Good stuff.
As Sean says, all that stuff you mentioned is hiding.
It's hiding. Interesting.
So ominous.
I love it. Nice to see you here too, Sean. Very good. Right. We've been going for an hour and a half again. It's funny how the event's like 30 minutes, but because we start early, we end up going for quite long. It's been really fun.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is the last of the 3, right? So
yeah, it is the last of the 3. It's amazing. Last year we did 1. And
we did 2.
Did we do 2? We did
the
2.
Keynote and devs, yeah.
And I was in OBS with you on Zoom, and that was awful. This time, we struggled with the Keynote, but we got there in the end. And now today, I think it went much better. Next year, we'll have visual effects. That's the next step. And we should do a podcast.
Dancing French around the corner.
Exactly. We should have devs on stage, Iron Viz, all the things you're used to seeing. But hopefully we can do a conference in person as well next year. I think hopefully next year that will be the first in probably 2-3 years since 2019 conference. So is it 2019? No, 2020 was the last conference. No, 2020 was 2019. Oh, this one.
Baby.
Oh, this one. Yeah. Good one. I completely forgot about that. We won an award at the data dev event. We came 3rd. It was good fun. Anyway, we're going to end this stream pretty soon. Thanks for watching, everyone. I really enjoyed it. There's so many comments. We haven't even had a chance to go through all of these. I know lots of Tableau staff have been watching this as well. So hopefully we've kept you entertained because, of course, you probably know what was in the keynote already. So this has been your sort of spiritual home during the event to find out what we really think. So thank you for tuning in. Hopefully we'll do this again next year. And we'd love to connect with all of you as well. So reach out on various platforms, email, Slack, whatever it is. You'll pretty much find us in there. And I mentioned it, didn't I? I loved it. So thank you all. Take care, and we'll catch you soon. Enjoy the rest of the conference. It's the final day, so make the most of it. Take care.
Cheers, folks. Take care.